Welcome into the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky from Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia, in Bensalem, on the heels of the Philadelphia Eagles losing for the first time in 10 weeks. They lose this one 36-33 on a last-minute drive by the Washington Commanders. A lot went into this loss, most notably Jalen Hurts leaving the game after just 11 offensive plays with a concussion. He did not return. Kenny Pickett took over. At that one of the final drives of the game, though, for the Eagles, drops became a thing for them. Saquon Barkley was taken out of the game, thanks in large part to what the Commanders were able to do to stack the box without the threat of Jalen Hurts running the football, and instead Kenny Pickett being back there under center for the Eagles. The defense forced 5 turnovers in this game, and you would think that would help balance things out. When it was all said and done, though, Seth, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Welcome in once again to the betPARX postgame show. Mark Farzetta, Eagles Hall of Famer Seth Joyner, and veteran Eagles reporter Mr. Derek Gunn. Seth, when you look at this loss today, what's the first thing that jumps out to you about taking this L?
Guys, there's so much here because, you can start with, Jalen Hurts being knocked out of the game. I think that the rest of the nation and the media in Philadelphia can understand the importance of having Jalen Hurts on the field. Kenny Pickett, in a valiant effort, did all that he could possibly do. But at the end of the day, Jalen Hurts is a big part of what makes the running game go, because every time that they run the read option, he's a threat to pull the ball and run with it. And defenses they gotta account for that. So Saquon had tough sledding because not only were they stacking the box, but they were crashing that end guy on the line of scrimmage on all the handoffs and all the read options, knowing that Kenny Pickett's not going to keep the football. And that made the offense kind of one-dimensional. I really would love to have seen them go a little play-action pass on first down instead of running the ball so much on first down. But what a missed opportunity. And the thing that I'm peeved about the most, I'm really pissed off at C.J. Gardner-Johnson, because he hurt this team immensely. It threw the secondary in disarray in the second half, him running his mouth and getting thrown out of the game. He talks too much, and they need to get this under control because he damaged this team in a mighty, mighty way. Christian McCollum came in and did all that he could, did a great job, but he's not C.J. GJ. And that hurt this defense in a massive ways. Missed tackles, coverage mistakes, just right down the line. Right down the line. And we can talk about Devontae dropping that ball. Yes, it's a big drop. But there are times in games, we've seen it with Saquon earlier, 9 out of 10 times, that guy's going to make that catch. He's going to make that play. But this game has a lot to do with Jalen Hurts being out of the game, and everybody now understands the importance of what he means to this team. All of these knuckleheads that's talking about, any quarterback with this amount of talent could step in and get the job done. Kenny Pickett couldn't get it done today. How many field goals do we have to kick in the second half in order for us? We kicked 4 field goals in the second half. Just one touchdown in one of those field goals, and it's a completely different deal. Jake Elliott kicked a 24, a 40, a 50, and a 40-yarder. One touchdown is the difference in this game. So don't talk to me any longer about any quarterback could step into this offense with all the talent that the Philadelphia Eagles has and be successful. Because guess what? If he can't do what Jalen Hurts does with his legs and his ability to escape the pocket and when pass plays break down and to be a major part of the running game, well, guess what? They can't do what Jalen Hurts does. His absence and C.J. Gardner-Johnson getting himself thrown out of the game. Listen, you got the first unsportsmanlike conduct, and you know the rule. Shut your damn mouth and play football. That really, really pissed me off that he put his team in that situation by being selfish, having to run his mouth enough, getting thrown out because of something that you say. Shut the hell up, man.
Especially when you already know Jalen Hurts is out on the offensive end of things. And C.J. GJ already had an impact, picking off his 4th interception of the season, helping turn the tide even more in favor of the Eagles. And then, of course, you really needed him on that final drive, and you didn't have him available. Gunner, when you look at this loss taken by the Eagles today, what's the number one thing that jumps out to you?
You know what? We can say Smitty's drop. If Smitty makes that catch, the game's over. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I still put my money on Devontae in any situation like that. It just happens. It's one of those things. It's a human element. It just happens in a game. CJ is not the first time he's been running his mouth, but he finally went too far. He finally got his hand in the cookie jar one too many times, and it cost him in this game. I'm going to say also defensive lapses in this game. This defensive, they generated turnovers, but they had way too many slip-ups, too many give-ups in crucial situations. Do you know Jaden Daniels is going to take off and run? I thought they should have done a better job of trying to, spy on him a little bit, but they let him take off. And one run he picked up was 30 yards in a third down situation. I thought they gave up too many big pass plays. In one touchdown drive, they gave up a couple of 30-plus yard passes that led to a touchdown. It was just one of those games, man. This is the most points they've given up. 36 points is the most points they've given up since November 3rd when they gave up 23 to Jacksonville. Everybody else has scored 20 or less in this game. So the numbers finally caught up to him. But if Jalen Hurts doesn't get hurt, it's not even a close ball game. The way he was playing in that first half, the way they were moving in the first half, it's not even a close ball game. But it's a part of the game. If a star player goes down, somebody's got to step up. Washington had 212 yards of offense in the second half. The Eagles had 75. They couldn't generate any offense, which led to the 4 field goals. 212 yards given up by the defense, which they don't customarily do during this win streak. And the only thing the offense could generate was 75 total yards in the entire second half. Those are big killers.
I tell you what, offensively, this is something I noticed the other day, yesterday watching football. Teams like to condense their formations, and they get to these short formations where they like to get these crossing routes and whatnot. A lot of times teams like to do that and actually run the ball from those tight formations. I think sometimes what offensive coordinators fail to realize is the closer your formations get, the more guys you draw to the box, especially when you go single high safety. That safety that's now down in the box, he becomes the 7th or the 8th man in the box. So when you're trying to run the football, the Eagles would have been better off spreading out this offense, getting 6-on-6 in the box, and then trying to run the ball from there. But when you condense your formation so much, now you've got extra safeties and extra guys that have to be accounted for in the blocking scheme. And if the wide receiver doesn't get to that guy and block that guy in the blocking scheme, now you got another free hitter that's coming to the ball, and which makes it more difficult to actually run the football. So they got to get to a place where, okay, if we're going to go 3 wide receiver sets, let's spread them out. So you got 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers, and you got 5 offensive linemen and a tight end. That's man-on-man blocking. That's man-on-man blocking. That means that you can double team and work up to the linebackers, and now you can run the ball much more effectively. But the Eagles continue to condense and condense and condense. And if you look at, as the game progressed, once Jalen Hurts went out of the game, they stopped running 2 high safety altogether. All they had was single high safety with the extra guy in the box to take Saquon away. They had no answer for it. No answer whatsoever.
I don't understand why they didn't go to more play action when Washington crowded the box.
Especially on first down. Exactly. I mean, I can't tell you how many times they ran the ball on first down. They got negative yards. Now you got 2nd and long, and you almost have to throw the ball in 2nd and long situations.
Absolutely. The thing is, it goes to the offensive play caller as well. You've got to be able to see this. Everybody else sees it. Why don't you see it? They've got at minimum 7 guys stacked at the line of scrimmage waiting for Saquon to get the ball. And you don't take advantage of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith even more so. Kenny Pickett could have thrown for at least 250 in this game. With one-on-one coverage, Washington doesn't have a secondary that can cover the Eagles' wide receivers in one-on-one situations. Basically, Kellen Moore played right into Washington's hands and kept giving them a chance and kept giving them additional momentum. When you turn the ball over 5 times in a game, you should not be able to win a football game. You should not be able to come close to winning a football game. And yet, because of the play calling, it allowed Washington to stay close. And sure enough, it burned them in the end in the final seconds of the game.
Mm-hmm. All right. Couldn't agree with you guys more than when you talk about play action and you talk about spreading the field. It's something that obviously would have helped this offense immensely in this game. But to your point, before we get to our mid-pen player to bank on, brought to you by Mid-Pen Bank, I do want to talk about something specifically that you talked about, Seth. Jalen Hurts' effect in the run game, not just to rack up yards for his own stats, but in order to open things up for Saquon Barkley. And there was a particular play at the end of the first half, just before Jake Elliott missed a 56-yard field goal, which was odd because he didn't even have the leg for it. Makes me think the wind was swirling a little bit more than was anticipated down there at FedEx Field. But there was a 3rd-and-1 play where they ran a read option. It ended up being a 3-yard loss to Saquon Barkley. You have that ball in the belly of Saquon Barkley, and the edge rusher, I forget who it was at the time for Washington, does not even acknowledge that Kenny Pickett exists on this play. If it's Jalen Hurts, obvious to some, but not too many, unfortunately. If it's Jalen Hurts, you at least have to stop, assess the situation, read it, and then make the pursuit. He just went right after Saquon Barkley, and that stopped him in the backfield for a 3-yard loss, which then set up the 56-yard field goal miss for Jake Elliott.
You got to give Dan Quinn and that defense a lot of credit, because what they realized the minute that Jalen went out of the game, we don't have to worry about the RPO anymore, because this quarterback is not going to run the football. He's not going to read and ride it, or ride and read it and pull it. So we can just crash our guys on the edges all day long. And there was nowhere for Saquon to go when you got guys crashing the edge. It's the same thing when you had, Frankie Louvo lining up on the edge of the line of scrimmage, and there's no one there to block him. If you're going to put him there, read option off of him, check and read option off of him, and put him in the mix. They used to do the same thing with Micah Parsons, okay? Put him in conflict. If you put that end guy on the line, end of the line of scrimmage in conflict, now he's got to make a decision. Do I take the dive? Do I take the quarterback? Any read that he makes is absolutely wrong, but at least you're getting man on blocking everywhere else, because that guy's got to honor the fact that Jalen's going to pull it. People don't understand when they get to talking about, that Jalen's the weak link in this offense. We talked about it in the pregame. Stop making comparisons, because different quarterbacks mean different things to different organizations and different schemes. We've seen with our eyes today how important Jalen is to the success of this offense, not only in Saquon's success, but his success at running the football and how it plays into the passing game as well. You can get one-on-ones outside with A.J. Brown. You can get other one-on-ones across the board, because when you force them to put the extra guy in the box to not only take away Saquon, but also take away Jalen Hurts, that opens up the passing game on the outside. You didn't have to worry about that today with Kenny Pickett, because you knew for a fact that he was not going to pull the ball and take off and run.
All right, before we go any further, I do want to acknowledge Jake Elliott making his first 50-yard field goal of the season, and it couldn't have come at a better time, really, when you needed the Eagles to have a kicker to step up. He was able to drill one home from 50 yards to give the Eagles a 30-28 lead with about 3:53 remaining. He is our Mid-Pen Bank player to bank on today. 4 of 5 in the field goal game. The longest was 50 yards. Then I thought he gave the Eagles the icing on the cake after Reed Blankenship's second interception of the season just against the Commanders. He drilled a 40-yard field goal to make it 33-28. I thought at that point the Eagles defense would hopefully lock it down, and they were unable to do that, but a nice bounce-back game there for Jake Elliott. Before we go any further, though, I do want to throw this out to you. One of the things that really sticks out to me about this game is the drops. A.J. Brown had one where the ball was a little swatted out of his hands in that fourth quarter.
Marshawn Lattimore.
Marshawn Lattimore was on that play. The other one was Saquon Barkley. Now,
wheel route, yeah.
The wheel route from Saquon Barkley.
Terrible throw.
Okay. I don't expect Kenny Pickett to make the perfect throw there. But if the ball's in the hands of Saquon Barkley, squeeze that ball, and you got to hold on to it. I agree it's a touchdown. There's a mistake made by both, but it was in the hands of Saquon. And then
should have made that catch.
He should have made the catch.
Yeah.
And then the obvious one to everyone is Devontae Smith with what would have been a game-sealing first down for the Eagles in that situation that ended up leading to the 40-yard field goal for Jake Elliott. To me, if Jalen Hurts is out of the game and you're relying on your backup quarterback in this situation, the players that you know can step up need to step up. These are the stars of the team, minus Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown. More so on Saquon, the most so on Devontae Smith. When I look back on this game, I'm going to be looking at those three plays, those three drops that really changed the course of action. Because, hey, look, the defense got you 5 takeaways. The defense, other than that last drive, did exactly what they were supposed to do in this game. The offense, Jalen Hurts or Kenny Pickett, the ball was in the hands of the playmakers who failed to make the plays. That's what I look at in this game.
You know what's fascinating is the fact that the Eagles ran the ball 39 times for 211 yards. 211 yards. They shut Saquon down in the second half, but yet he still had 29 carries for $150. 29 carries for $150. Obviously, the 68-yarder is a big one, but still 29 carries. Now, you know coming into this game, Saquon is going to be a focal point of this offense. And he breaks one off 68 yards and finishes with $150 on 29 carries. Eagles gave the game away. Even with the backup quarterback in the game, they gave the game away.
They gave the game away while having 5 takeaways.
5 takeaways, they gave it away still.
That's not supposed to happen.
That's unbelievable.
I thought turnover was supposed to be a killer.
Well, but
couldn't kill the Commanders today.
Yeah.
So then the question is, go and look at me because I know because I know one of you guys have it. How many points does the Eagles have off of takeaways today? You got 5 takeaways, and I guarantee you, without even looking at the stats, that they only got points off of one of those takeaways.
I think it was 3 points in total, and it was the Jay Kelly.
I mean,
5 takeaways.
Off the top of my head, yeah.
That's not happening with Jalen Hurts.
I agree.
You understand what I'm saying?
No question.
I mean, when you turn the ball over that much and you don't score off of those turnovers, all you did was just had an extra possession. And in my opinion, 14 possessions by Washington, 13 by the Eagles. That's way too many possessions. Why? Because I guarantee you, I'll go here and look again. Let's look at the third down conversions. The Eagles are 3 for 16. So that means you're not possessing the ball enough. 3 for 16, that's like 30-something%.
By the way, Pickett's interception turned into a touchdown for Crowder and the Commanders.
Not only that, but the Eagles had the ball 36 minutes, 18 seconds compared to Washington 23-24. There's no way in the world that this game should have ended the way it ended, even with Jalen out.
I agree.
Let me tell you something. When you 3 for 16 on third down conversions,
no question.
and your opponents are 7 for 13, over 50%.
Yep.
Yeah, time of possession don't mean anything if you're not scoring points, especially off a turnover.
That's unbelievable. That's just unbelievable. And they had 10 penalties. You talk about undisciplined today. 10 penalties for 91 yards. Now, a couple were questionable calls, and then first one on CJ was questionable, no question about that. Mm-hmm. But once you've already been warned, you've got to be smart enough to know that the refs are looking for you to do any and everything to possibly take you out of the game, and he played right into their hands. But again, he's been running his mouth all season long. Nobody's been able to rein him in, and it cost him today. Mm-hmm. If Jalen's on that field today with all these turnovers, they put up over 40 points in this Washington team today. There's no question about it.
Oh, and by the way, the referees missed the false start on that touchdown pass.
Yeah.
They absolutely
But
did.
we were talking also, how many times have we seen Lane Johnson false start over the last several years? They never get called, but this was even more blatant than any Lane Johnson false start that we've ever seen.
That's my measuring stick. If it's more than Lane, it's a false start. If it's more than Lane, it's a false start. Hey,
you had the back judge and the side judge. How the hell do you miss that call?
Home call, man. Home call. You get that home call.
Before we hit the break, I do want to remind everyone about a toy drive we are helping out with Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Everyone, we could donate toys. You can make sure that you're following Seth Joyner on all social media platforms, of course. And in the description of this show on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel, you could see even more information about our affiliation with CHOP, that's Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, for the toy drive for the holidays. Also, a giveaway on this very show coming up in the 4th segment today. We're going to be giving away a ball and a helmet, so make sure you're following Seth Joyner. 2 balls.
Because we missed last week. We're going to give away a ball and a helmet and a ball and a helmet.
Oh, there we go. All right, so 2 pairs of a ball and a helmet. And you can follow Seth Joyner on all social media platforms and follow him, of course. Hit like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification button on YouTube. I
must say, I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. The Seth Joyner family, the Joyner Family Foundation, I should say. My wife and I spent Friday afternoon at the Children's Hospital with the kids, handing out some gifts. We met our goal of raising $5,000, for CHOP Hospital, along with all the other toys and people who have gone online and actually bought toys, at the Amazon site. We still got a few more days to Christmas, so if you guys feel inclined to continue to buy online, those kids have requested specific toys, and you can actually go to the link, click the link, go to the Amazon site, and buy those toys for those kids. We don't realize how blessed we are. You know, I'm a new grandfather. I'm a father of two, but I'm also a new grandfather of a 5-month-old. And when you bring a child into this world and they're 100% healthy, we don't understand how much of a blessing that is. To spend time with not only these kids, but these parents that are distraught in what they're going through. We all have the ability to just make their Christmas just a little more enjoyable in the midst of what they're going through. So I want to thank you, and I want to implore you guys to continue to give, to continue to support. You know, with a few more days of Christmas left, your generosity and your heartfelt, you know, generosity will go a long way in helping making not only these kids' Christmas a merry one, but also the joy that you see in the parents' eyes and their hearts when their kids are getting something that they like, something that they want. So thank you.
All right, fantastic.
You want to talk about blessings, and I'll share something with you. Last year, my now 2-year-old grandson, Elijah, was 1 year old, and he was detected with a neuroblastoma cancer between his heart and his spine. And the doctors went in there and got it out. They had to leave a small piece in because it was too close to the spine, and said it would eventually dissolve. Well, his last 2 checkups, he's been cancer-free. And this neuroblastoma is the type of cancer where it's usually not detected in children until they're 5 and 6 years old, and it spreads, and it's normally too late for kids at that point. But because my grandson had a respiratory issue, had a cold, my daughter took him into Children's Hospital in Delaware, and the guy who's the expert at detecting these things was about to leave his shift. So you talk about blessing. He said, let me look at this before I leave. And that's how I detected it.
Wow.
Otherwise, it may never been detected.
Wow.
Now little Elijah is about almost 2.5 years old, and, you know, running around like crazy and stuff. So you talk about blessings. Don't ever take anything for granted, because, you know, nothing is given to you.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a few on the betPARX postgame show presented by Pond Lehocky following this Eagles loss, the first loss in 10 weeks. There it is, Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia, in Bensalem.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
It's the most wonderful time with the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all 3 on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello?
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Parx Casino. Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show presented by Pond Lehocky. Mark Farzetta along with Eagles Hall of Famer Seth Joyner and veteran Eagles reporter Mr. Derek Gunn. A lot of injuries to get into in this game. We'll get to that with our sports doc, Dr. Bruce Grossinger, coming up in a couple of segments. But we want to make sure we break down the final drive there by the Washington Commanders. This is our Davis Honda drive of the game. The Eagles were able to go up thanks to that 40-yard field goal by Jake Elliott and interception prior to that by Reed Blankenship, his second of the season against the Commanders. Led to that field goal by Jake Elliott, and then unfortunately with 1:58 remaining in the game, the Commanders get the ball back and they march down the field. 1 minute 58 seconds worth of time on that drive. 1 minute 52 seconds, on that drive, and they were able to punch it in with Jaden Daniels being able to hit Jamison Crowder for the 9-yard touchdown strike. That was the difference in the ball game. On that drive, They faced a third down only once. It was converted with a Brian Robinson run to the right for 5 yards. And also just nobody able to tackle Jaden Daniels, stop Jaden Daniels, and bring him down in the backfield. They just marched down the field. And you pointed out while we were watching it all unfold, Derek Gunn, that it was 9 plays, 57 yards in under 2 minutes.
And the balanced drive that they put together, 5 passes and 4 runs on that particular drive. Jaden Daniels killed him with his legs again, but that's what you expect him to do. And as I said a few moments ago, I'm just a little surprised. It appeared the Eagles kind of went to that prevent defense like all teams seem to do when they're trying to protect the lead, is go to that prevent defense. And when you give up that much yardage in the middle of the field, you're asking for a disaster, especially with a quarterback like a Jaden Daniels. And sure enough, it burned them down the stretch.
Well, listen, I mean, they really had no other choice.
I know.
But to adjust their defense the way they adjusted it. Like, the whole player is C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Like, and you could just tell that the trust with Christian McCollum just isn't there. Mm-hmm. You're not going to leave him in the middle of the field in a situation like that. Not a guy who doesn't have that kind of experience. So with GJ being out of the game, that kind of changed. It changed how Vic Fangio could call the game. They became very passive. They became passive in the sense that they were blitzing, but they weren't playing man behind it. They were playing zone behind it. So the only thing that the receivers had to do was just get to a spot and curl up in front of the zone blitzers. You know, and that's not really how he wants to play. That's a change-up call for Vic Fangio. That's not something that he wants to live with, but they weren't getting pressure with the front four, so he had to start sending the linebackers. They played zone behind it, like a shell zone behind it, and the Washington, receivers just started sitting down in the zone, and Jalen just kept picking them apart. Now, we talked about behind enemy lines in the pregame, right? And what did I say about Jaden
Daniels?
Jaden Daniels. Yeah. This version of Jaden Daniels, the Eagles didn't get a chance to experience the last time that they played him because he was injured and they kind of had the shackles on him, okay? So they hadn't seen this kind of elusiveness. They haven't seen this kind of speed. And I think they kind of underestimated how fast this kid is and how elusive he could be because, geez, let me go and look and give you an idea. This kid, Jaden Daniels, he led the Washington Redskins in rushing. 81 yards on 9 carries. That is literally 9 yards per carry. You can't survive. You can survive with a running back, posting those types of numbers. But when a quarterback puts up those types of numbers, more times than not, he's converting third downs. More times than not, he's breaking the pocket and making plays that's going to hurt you.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened with this defense today. They had no answer for that. Listen, he is the type of quarterback that you need to just make him stay in the pocket and pass the ball. I don't care where he throws it, but he needs to throw the ball from the pocket. Because I said in the pregame, he is more dangerous when he gets out of the pocket and his ability to create and make plays happen, whether it's with his legs or throwing the ball, than he is from the pocket. I cannot underscore to you, in my opinion, how big of a misstep it was for Gardner-Johnson to get kicked out of this game because it changed the entire complex of what Vic Fangio could do and how he was going to call his defenses without him on the field because that's the safety that he trusts. That's the guy that can play center field and get over the top on either side of the field. Not Tristan. You're not trusting McCollum to be able to do that. So now you got to play more double high safety. Now you got to play a lot more safer because you're trying to make sure that guy doesn't get exposed. And oh, by the way, on the touchdown pass, guess who it was that got exposed for the touchdown play? Christian McCollum.
Mm-hmm. And you're looking at the way he broke it down. We could look at the long plays that were made by the Washington Commanders in this game. For instance, you're looking at Olamide Zaccheaus, of course, the former Eagle, comes up with a 49-yard touchdown reception on the 12 men on the field call that involved Darius Slay. You also look at Terry McLaurin get a 32-yard reception in this game. Then you go De'Ami Brown in this game, a 51-yard reception. So he was able to air that football out, but the back-breaking play, as far as I'm concerned, was the 30-yard scramble on the 4th and 11 where the Eagles could not get that stop. And that was at the end of the third quarter, opening into the fourth quarter, and that was capped off on that drive by the Alameda Zacchaeus touchdown, the first one that he had. That ended up being an 11-play, 61-yard drive lasting 4:38. That was the play. That was the first time when I saw Jaden Daniels be able to scramble and be able to get that first down and run right through 3 Eagles defenders, most likely because they're terrified of getting a penalty after last week what happened with Reed Blankenship. He runs for the 30 yards, converts that, they get the touchdown. That was the first point in the game where I thought the Eagles were going to lose because I knew the magic was not going to be there in the fourth quarter based on how they had been stopping Saquon Barkley and knowing that you also did not have Jalen Hurts.
You know what, D-Gun?
Yeah.
I watched that play, and I said to myself, the way that they blew Jalen Hurts up and put him out of the game, the Eagles' defense, the way that Jaden Daniels was running around, they needed to return the favor, okay? Yeah. On that play.
Old school football.
On that play, there was like 3 or 4 guys that had an opportunity to just blow him up, and they ran right by him. Now, this whole rule where the quarterback can be running as fast as he wants to be, and within a 1 or 2 yard window, he can slide down and you're not supposed to hit him. You know, the NFL needs to fix that rule because you got these quarterbacks now, they're just running. Like Jaden Daniels didn't even think about sliding, didn't think about it. So now what happens with your defenders after what happened with Reed Blankenship last week? They're going to kind of throttle down with the thought that, oh, he's going to slide. Well, he didn't slide. He just ran right through the damn defense. Somebody should have blew his ass up and been willing to take the 15-yarder because he scrambled for 30 anyway. You might as well blow his ass up and take the penalty.
I'm 100% with you. It looked like there were 3 Eagles players scared to make a play on that one because it was the quarterback running. Now, look, rules are the rules, but I'm with you. You got to play all out. You got to play all or nothing at all if you're a defender in that situation. They had the opportunity to make the stop. Jaden Daniels literally split 2 defenders, actually running away from 3, and then carried it for more than 11 yards after that.
And shook 2 tacklers along the way, you know, which we have not seen. Eagles
so that's 5 in total.
Eagles have been so good at tackling as of late. I'm just shocked that that Jaden Daniels was able to slip away from 2 defenders to complete that 29, 30-yard run.
You know the other thing I want to see stop? So, Sir Mix, I'm looking at you in the chat here, and he says, you know, they were laughing with Daniels and playing buddy-buddy. I am so sick and tired of these damn players during the game, stoppages and plays, going over, dapping players up and laughing and yucking it up and kikiing and ha-ha. That team is trying to take away something that you have designs on, and that's a Super Bowl win. Stop with this nice guy crap. Stop it. Save it for the offseason if you got to do it. Never in all of my days of playing 13 years of football did I ever engage in any of that nonsense. You're in a competitive situation, and every little bit of edge that you could possibly have, you need to maintain it. I want that quarterback to know that I'm trying to break his damn neck, not trying to be his friend. I'm not trying to help him up off the ground. None of that nonsense.
But it's par for the course across the league now. All these guys are buddy-buddy from college. All these guys play with each other somewhere in the NFL. And every time you go to a timeout, you see them standing there, you know, talking, laughing, and joking. Like, hey, focus on what you're supposed to be doing here. You got a job to do. You can talk after the game. You talk before the game. During a game, you're laser focused. This team had been laser focused for so long. Slip up today, yes, especially defensively in a lot of ways. Giving up 36 points to Washington, yes, they averaged 28 points a game. But you look at the manner in which they gave up some of those points today. That's not the Eagles' defense we're used to seeing. Granted, they were out on the field. No, I can't even say that. I can't even say they were out on the field longer because Washington only had the ball 23 minutes. But they gave up more big plays in this game than they have any time during this 10-game win streak.
I would love to know, and I'm sure it's going to be out there somewhere, 5 turnovers, 5 takeaways. What's the record of teams that have 5 takeaways in a game?
Well, 2 of them are 2-0 this year. The Detroit Lions, that fool threw 5 interceptions.
That's right.
And they still won
Jared
the game.
Goff, they came back and won the game.
They found a way to win.
It just goes to show you when you're not converting third downs and you're not converting turnovers to points, that you put yourself at a deficit. And by the way, D-Gun, there was a lot of guys that I played with back in the day, and we played golf together in the off season. I knew them and they was friends, but they understood without a doubt that 59 is trying to break your damn neck when it comes to Sunday during the game. We can be friends the other 35 weeks of the season, but them other 17, I'm trying to break your damn neck every time.
I'd like to see how, and when you hear what Nick Sirianni might have to say about the play and the play calling of Kenny Pickett. He comes in the game cold, goes 3 for 3, 20 yards, and throws a touchdown pass. After that, he was rattled. He was rattled the rest of the game. Now, granted, he had 3 drops in the game. AJ, Devontae, and Saquon dropped 3 passes that they should have caught. But he wasn't as sharp as he was, and I didn't see Washington doing much of anything else to rattle him. They hardly got to him. They hardly got to him, but yet he was not on target the way he was that first series he came in the game.
And they also started throwing the football right out of the gate in the second half as well when they got the ball. And that's when they got the back-to-back pass interference calls on Marshawn Lattimore. They had the 38-yard gain on that penalty on the first one, and then right away, 23 yards on another penalty by Marshawn Lattimore. Unfortunately, that drive only led to a field goal.
You want to know the other thing, too?
What's that?
I would love to see, after that first drive where you said he went 3 for 3, I would love to see Kenny Pickett's passing chart. Because after he threw that interception in the middle of the field, not a single ball went in the middle of the field. Everything was outside of the numbers. Every single thing was outside. Now, they could have had that all day long. When you have a quarterback that you feel is challenged in how he's going to operate, run the comeback routes. Like you got Devontae Smith on a comeback route for a first down. You had A.J. Brown on a comeback route on the outside. A couple of those routes, they had a stop-and-go route to A.J. that got one of the PIs. Why not go to those types of plays, especially if you're going to get, the type of situations that you're in? Go with things that he's comfortable with. Like you could have ran slants and flats all day long.
Yep.
All day long. You could have ran stop routes on the outside with both of your X and your Z wide receiver all day long. But they called plays that didn't match up to what his ability was. And then, like I said before, you could begin to see the play calling begin to adjust and change because they're trying to give him things that he's comfortable with. They're trying to give him things that he does really well. But now all of a sudden the entire game plan is going out the window because your starting quarterback's not in the game. Preparation, okay? How prepared did you have Kenny Pickett? How ready was he to step in and play? And what did his game plan look like, his JIC? I call it the JIC plan. That's the just in case. Just in case Jalen gets hurt. What game plan have you put together throughout the week just in case Kenny Pickett has to go in and play?
Well, you know what? Practice sessions are so short nowadays because of the new CBA. You hardly have any time to do much of anything in practice, and one day is just a walkthrough.
I ain't letting him off the hook like you are, D-Gun.
No, I'm not trying to let him off the hook. I'm just saying the backup quarterback doesn't get many reps during a week. You got one day was a walkthrough. The other ones are like an hour, 15-minute practice at the most. There's not a lot of time to get done. And you're putting in a game plan for the next opponent. Not a lot of time to get anything done during a week nowadays.
By the way, Devontae Smith was reaching the locker room already, and he was asked about that drop. And he said simply, I got to catch the GD ball. It cost us the game. When we come back, we'll see what you guys are talking about in the chat. Bailey Livesey, our social media coordinator, will be stopping in to let us know, what the subject is on the YouTube channel. That's when we return on the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. The 360 Lounge here at Parx Casino. Enjoy some fantastic entertainment and ice-cold drinks.
At Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Lehocky a call.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging, our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
This is Parx.
This is how you roll. This is how it goes.
This is how you pop, this is how you rock. Take a chance, do a dance, little romance. This is how you. This is how you win. This is how you excite, this is how you all night. 360 hit me, now we're going all in. I can feel it calling, the crowd, the light, the night, the sights, the vibe is right. This is how you. This is
Parks, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Lehocky. I want to give one correction here. I believe it was actually 6 points the Eagles got off turnovers. After the Nolan Smith fumble recovery that was actually forced out by Zach Bond, the Eagles were able to get a field goal after that. That was the first 40-yard field goal by Jake Elliott.
I want to put you guys in investigative mode.
Go for it.
Just for a second.
Sure.
While we, get to Bailey. I want to know what the average starting point was for the Washington Commanders today, because the kickoffs were horrible and the coverage was horrible. It seemed like they were always on the 35, between the 35 and the 40-yard line, when they started their drives. And that's hard on the defense too, because really you're 2 first downs away from being in scoring position.
I'm looking over it right now. I'll have to get you an average.
Okay.
They got the ball on a kickoff once in the Eagles' 43-yard line, on an interception 25-yard and then midfield 2 other times. That's the way it started out. But I'll crunch the numbers. I'll crunch the numbers. Let's get to our social media coordinator, Bailey Livesey's been monitoring the chat and writing down what you guys are. Well, your main talking points mostly. Bailey, what do you have for us today?
Well, hello, everyone. Despite the outcome of today's game, it is always great to be here. But moving on to the questions, with 5 turnovers, you think that we would have run up the scoreboard. How important is Jalen to this team? I'm really trying hard not to get into the comparison of Kenny Pickett to Jalen Hurts, because
there is none.
Because it's stupid. All right. All right. I know we're not supposed to that stupid's a bad word. Some people say it's stupid. All right. I never needed
like your kid said, Daddy said stupid.
But I'm really trying not to compare the two, and I know some people were already doing that, and there's always talk about the backup quarterback in Philadelphia and any major city really. But for me, I put it more on the drops than I do Kenny Pickett. I don't expect Kenny Pickett to come in here and be Jalen Hurts. But if Jalen Hurts is playing in this football game, there's no doubt in my mind. Seth, you mentioned earlier, Gunner, you alluded to it as well. You're talking about 45. You're talking about maybe 50 points in a game like this where you get 5 turnovers. And Saquon Barkley, by the stats, had a phenomenal game. But a lot of that was on the opening drive of the game. Then later with Kenny Pickett in there, yes, he did break off a 68-yard run. But that just keeps on going because there's no way that Washington Commanders defense was going to stop both Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley throughout the entire game. And even if it's close, like it was in the fourth quarter of this game, I got 1,000 times more confidence that Jalen Hurts is going to put together another 8 to 11-minute drive to really put the game on ice and have that be a put-away drive. And even before, earlier on the show, I talked about it. I had no confidence the Eagles were going to find that fourth quarter magic after you saw that big 30-yard run by Jaden Daniels at the end of the third quarter.
I want to address some goober in the chat who earlier when I said that Kenny Pickett could have thrown for 250 yards in this game. He didn't listen to what I said. I said if you combine those 3 drops and if Kellen Moore had called a different game because of the way Washington was playing in their coverage, I'd have ran A.J. on slants all day, and they couldn't have stopped him. He could have easily thrown for 250 yards. A lot of this I put on Kellen Moore for the game plan that he called, especially when you're sitting there and you see them stacking the box like that, and you don't go to play action. I'm going to play action every other play, okay? Jalen Hurts is the engine that runs the offense. I know Saquon is a feature in the offense, but Jalen is the engine that runs this offense with his arm, with his legs. You look at what he's done during this 10-game winning streak, doesn't turn the ball over, makes the big throws when he has to, okay? Burns people constantly with his legs when he takes off on those quarterback draws. Kenny Pickett can't do that. That's not his game. That's why Pittsburgh let him go after 3 years. He wasn't the type of quarterback that you see nowadays in today's game, okay? So Jalen Hurts, without Jalen Hurts, this team will not go far. There's no question about that. We saw that today. The evidence was clear today that you have to call a much different game with Kenny Pickett. And if you have to play the likes of Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay, hey, even Todd Bowles' Tampa Bay defense, because Todd Bowles has had the Eagles' number for years, you're going to be in big trouble if Jalen Hurts is not under center.
Everybody has been talking for years about, who the most important cog is in this offense. Saquon, and his emergence this year as a Philadelphia Eagle, has been phenomenal. A.J. Brown, at times, is unstoppable. Even Smitty has his days where he can dominate. But it's clear to anyone who knows football, that understands football, it's clear to anybody that can see, the most important player on this offensive unit is Jalen Hurts. It's Jalen Hurts. That's why they made him the franchise player, for all you gurus out there that think that some other quarterback can come in here and run this offense and be more efficient and more effective than Jalen. It's pretty obvious today. You watch today, this offense turned into an average offense. A great defensive mind devise a way to take away any opportunity that you have of being explosive. Why? Because they took Saquon Barkley away in the second half by loading the box and ensuring that he wasn't going to beat him, because they believed in their minds that Kenny Pickett couldn't get it done passing the ball. Even after Jalen proved last week that he can beat you throwing it, or we can beat you running it. That's just a fact. I've said it last year. I've been saying it for the last 2 years, okay? The Eagles need to move away from this idea that you can take a regular pocket passer and make him your backup, because that's not what your offense is. That's not what Jalen Hurts is. They need to, like the Baltimore Ravens have done, go and find you a quarterback that can do some of the things that Jalen does, especially in the RPO game, so that if Jalen gets hurt, you can continue to run your full offense. We've seen the same thing with Carson Wentz. Carson goes down, Nick Foles comes in, they have to go to a whole different offense for Nick Foles. Now, it worked out for him, but the Eagles, to me, didn't learn their lesson, because you got Tanner McKee, who is a pure pocket passer, and then you got Kenny Pickett, who you gave the job to, in my opinion, because Tanner McKee, in my opinion, during preseason, outplayed Kenny Pickett. You gave him the job. He didn't win it on merit. You gave Kenny Pickett the job, okay? Because Tanner McKee outplayed him, but they still don't have a guy that if Jalen goes down, they can come in and run read option, they can run, all of these different things that Jalen excels at, where he can pull the ball and be a threat running the football. And they've got to fix that.
Wholeheartedly agree. Bailey, I know, as we tend to do, we really break it down for you. What's the next one you have for us?
All good. Well, for our second question, in your opinion, what were the flaws of the defense today?
Well, I know one jumps right out. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson not being able to be quiet.
Right.
Next to impossible, actually. Not being able to close it out on that final drive. Nobody able to get home. Not being able to tackle Jaden Daniels on the 30-yard scramble.
Well, hey, listen. The flaw is, you need certain players on the field to execute what your game plan is and what it is you like to do. And when those players either go down via injury or, like Dum Dum, gets kicked out of the game, that, as a defense coordinator, it changes everything how you envision running the game. Because when you have players on the field that you don't necessarily trust to be able to execute what these other players have executed in practice all week, it changes the way that you have to call the game. Now, all of a sudden, instead of you being an aggressive attacking defense, you're more in passive mode. And when you get that way, we've seen that picture before. When you get that way, nothing good ever happens from being a passive type of defense.
Overall, for me, it was, tackling. The fact that Jaden Daniels could do what he did, the fact that he had the mental mistake. For me, there's no excuse. Five takeaways in the game is huge. It's absolutely huge. But mental mistakes, especially by a more veteran player like Darius Slay, for instance, on that 49-yard reception by Olamide Zaccheaus, there's no room in a game like this for plays like that. There's no room in a game like this to allow Jaden Daniels to run through 3 defenders in one fell swoop, literally one sidestep, and be able to go ahead and get you 30 yards on that drive. There's no excuse for it. So for me, there's some mental mistakes that were there. I won't call them teaching moments because that's too soft a way to put it for a defense like this that has been playing great throughout the year. And really, you look at 2 things for this Eagles team that have been things you could really rely on. You could look at the tackling, really ever since the bye week has been on point. You could also look at the idea that their secondary has been great and really the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL.
Right.
This today, as well as a drop by Devontae Smith of all people, there's a way you could look at it to say how talented this team is, that this is what it took. The most abnormal of abnormalcies took place in this game, and the Eagles lost.
Well, you know what? Washington didn't hurt them much with the running game. Washington was averaging 155 yards rushing a game. They had 113 in this game, but the quarterback had 9 carries for 81 yards. Okay, so that's a little skewed. Ryan Robinson had 10 carries for only 24 yards. I think the passing game hurt them more so than anything else in this game today. They ran the ball 24 times. They passed the ball. Washington did 39 times. Now, the Eagles should have been smart enough to know they're going to have to go to the pass game because they're playing catch-up. And yet, they gave up big pass. They give up more big pass plays in this game than I've seen them give up in the last 7-8 weeks. You know, they're so committed to keeping everything in front of them that I just thought that they broke containment in a lot of ways today. And especially over the middle of the field, they gave up more passing plays in the middle of the field than I've seen them give up in quite some time. It was one of those bad news bears type days for the defense in a lot of ways, especially the last 30 minutes of the game.
Hey, you know what, man? I talked about it earlier. I really think that this defense underestimated the speed and the elusiveness of Jaden Daniels. I really do, because listen, they kept Lamar Jackson contained. Okay. But you look at the way that they rushed the passer today. The defensive ends got too high. Yeah. You know, they doubled. Jalen Carter damn near every play. I'm telling you now, Vic Fangio is going to have to take that offside tackle and put him in a 1 technique or a 2-eye to stop them from turning to Jalen Carter every single play. You can't ask him to take on 600 pounds every single passing play. You just can't do that. They threw the ball 39 times today, and I guarantee you on 30 of those plays, he was double-teamed. You can't ask him to do that. You're going to have to slide your line over and create some opportunities where you can get him one-on-one against the guard where he can win. He is not going to win that many opportunities where he's double-teamed and just got 600 pounds laying on him all day. That's just not going to work.
All right, we have one more, I think, from Bailey here. Bailey, is this one about the officiating?
Yes, it is. Yep. So what grade would you give the referees today? And give us some insight on how you think they performed.
I need to know what is an illegal hit and a legal hit on a quarterback. Because when they take off and run, it seems like our secondary, it seems like the Eagles secondary is wildly confused. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts takes off. He gets hit. He gets concussed. He gets taken out of the game, still waiting for more of an update on Jalen Hurts. And that's a totally legal play. And he looks dazed and confused when he gets up. It was also odd to me that he left the game, looked like he was about to come back in. We'll get more clarification from our sports doc on this. And then stayed out of the game after that.
That was troubling to me. Because normally if you go in the tent and they evaluate you for a concussion, if it's bad enough, they take you right in. Mm-hmm. He goes in the tent, comes out of the tent, and standing on the sideline with his helmet, ready to go back into the game, and then somebody comes, taps him on the shoulder, oh, we got to go inside. There's some BS going on there. Because I've seen many quarterbacks go in the tent and come back out with their helmet on. They're good to go. Now all of a sudden, from somewhere he gets a call that you need to take him inside to further evaluate him inside, that sounds to me like somebody didn't want Jalen Hurts going back in that football game.
Mm-hmm. So you think the fix was in this game?
Damn Skippy.
That in the early, Bailey, I know you probably saw it in the early goings of our chat. I know a lot of people were talking about how rigged. Is that what people are referencing?
Yes.
The rig? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I agree with them.
not happy.
Anytime the Eagles lose, it's definitely rigged.
I will say this. Over the last 5-6 years, I don't know from a defensive perspective what a strike zone is anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because the calls have been so inconsistent by the referees. And even the officials who are in the press in the booth during the live broadcast, they'll say one thing and it's called differently. I think the NFL has to have more symposiums for referees to be more consistent, because I don't think they're doing enough in terms of trying to find a measure of consistency to let defensive players know what is and what isn't. Because the play that Jalen got hit on, that could have been called a PI. A roughing the runner type play.
Should have been,
and it wasn't.
Targeting or whatever.
Targeting, whatever you want to call it, and it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it in other games where it's called.
Reed Blankenship last week.
Yes,
where he gets slid into.
Let me throw this out for you. If that was Patrick Mahomes.
Oh
boy.
Oh my goodness.
You understand what I'm saying?
Probably banned from the league.
It's almost like some of the hits that you see quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. Some of even Josh Allen, because Josh Allen runs extremely recklessly. Some of the hits that you see those guys take and the refs don't throw the flag, because the idea is, when the quarterback breaks the pocket, now he becomes a runner unless he slides feet first and gives himself up. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, Jalen was clearly going down. He was clearly going down.
Yeah.
So where's the protection there? Just because he went down head first, a guy can come flying in, helmet and shoulder pads, and give him a ding as he's going down to the ground?
And drive him. Yeah.
My thing is protect all quarterbacks the same. Not just the ones that are the face of the NFL, not just the ones, that you love, not just the ones that are just pure quarterbacks, but the ones that run too. They are just as important to their team as these other quarterbacks are, and they need the same protections. And those guys don't get the same protections that the Pat Mahomes and the Jared Goffs and the Matthew Staffords, they don't get those kind of protections.
Mm-hmm. Hear, hear. When we come back, Bailey, thank you so much. Appreciate you monitoring the chat, letting us know what the good people are thinking.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. When we come back, we're going to talk to our sports doc about these injuries. Also, the latest on Kenny Pickett dealing with a rib injury after today's game. We'll break that down when we return here on the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. The betPARX Sportsbook, a lap of luxury as you take in all the games and win yourself some cash.
It's the most wonderful time with the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all three on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello? And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed.
Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
you should probably sue them.
Forget your friend. Call Lehocky Giordano.
We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Did you know that Davis Honda will pay top dollar for your car? Go to DavisBuysCars.com and get an instant quote on your vehicle. We'll make the purchase as easy as possible and put cash in your hand faster than you can say DavisBuysCars.com.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show presented by Pond Lehocky. I want to make sure I get this right. 13 points off turnovers today for the Philadelphia Eagles. They had a touchdown. That was the A.J. Brown touchdown reception, courtesy of Kenny Pickett on his first drive, taking over for Jalen Hurts following the Jalen Carter forced fumble. And then they had 2 field goals, one after the interception by Chauncey Gardner. Excuse me, that was the missed field goal. Zach Bond forced a fumble. They got 3 after that, and then Reed Blankenship's interception led to what I thought was going to deadlock the game. And unfortunately, the Washington Commanders had one more drive left in them that would end up sealing the deal for them. Now, before we get to the sports doc, we have some great things that we're giving away here. What do we have? We have a jersey. We have a ball. We have 2 pairs of these that we're giving away. Seth, for people that are following you on all social media platforms, liking and subscribing as well to the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. Seth, what do we have?
Well, guys, stay tuned in. We got a helmet and a football, 2 of them as a group. So you'll get a helmet and a football, and a helmet and a football. We got 2 that we're giving away, but we're choosing the winners out of the chat today. So you guys stay tuned. We're going to. You want to do them now? Okay, let's do them now.
We have them plucked.
I think we got them. So let's put them up, and we'll let you know who won. So we got Tony Wheeler and Sir Mix are the winners of the helmet and the footballs today.
There we go.
So if you guys can message me on either one of those social media platforms, either on Twitter or Instagram, we'll make sure that we get these out to you this week. Merry Christmas. And then we've got 2 tickets to the Dallas game next week. Okay, you guys look at the social media, look at my social media posts throughout the week. A video will go up. We'll probably give those tickets away either Thursday or Friday of this week. We'll pick the winner. But make sure you tune in for that. And then, right here, our last jersey of the year. We've given away 4 jerseys so far this year. This will be the 5th. Gave away one of my jerseys, A.J. Brown jersey, a Jalen Hurts jersey, and a Saquon Barkley jersey. And last of all, we got Mr. Eagles in his 15th year, Mr. Brandon Graham's jersey we're going to give away in the post game of next week's show. All right? So, like I said, just follow me. Make sure you follow me on social media. You guys that won, make sure that you send me your contacts so we know how to get these gifts to you. And for you guys that are hoping to win the tickets to the game next week, the Dallas game, or win Brandon Graham's jersey that we'll give away in next week's post-game show, make sure you're paying attention on social media on how to get involved.
And this just in, Troy wins the football? Is that what I have there? Troy Wheeler wins the football. That's how that one works.
No, Troy's going to win a football and a helmet.
And a helmet, okay.
And Sir Mix is going to win a football and a helmet.
That is a lot.
Mini helmet.
That's a lot for Sir Mix. I'll just say that. You with me? Okay, good. All right, let's get to our sports doc. There's some things that we want to break down here regarding this game, Kenny Pickett being one of them. Jalen Hurts, a concussion protocol. Dr. Bruce Grossinger standing by on site with us here at Parx Casino. Doctor, welcome in. First and foremost, Jalen Hurts, your thoughts. Where are we at?
My thoughts parallel what Seth was saying. It's very curious for him to be able to go in the tent, and there's really 4 parameters. Did he have a loss of consciousness? No. Was he staggering around? Ataxic? No. Was he confused? No. Was he amnesic? So he went into the tent. He checked out. He went back and he said, I'm good, put on his helmet, and was about to go back into the game. And inexplicably, Meatloaf showed up and said, stop right now before you go any further. You've got to go into the locker room. When you go to the locker room, it's a much more intensive exam, a full neuro exam, and a SCAT-3 protocol, which is much more detailed. And apparently, he didn't get 100% on his locker room test and was ruled out for the game.
So, but as you know it, is he now out for next week as well, or is it just in concussion protocol for the next 6 days?
He is in a 5-stage concussion protocol, and if he clears that protocol, he would be able to come back and play next week against the Cowboys at home.
Kenny Pickett also suffered rib injuries in this game. What can you tell me about Kenny Pickett?
As far as I know, he suffered contusions or bruises to the chest, no broken ribs. He was able to complete the game, perhaps to the dismay of the Eagles themselves, because Tanner McKee may have done a better job.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Bruce, when you talk about contusion to the ribs, sometimes that can affect the overall breathing, and especially when you're playing a game like football. So what are the Eagles monitoring closely with Kenny Pickett as the week progresses?
Well, he's going to get a chest x-ray to make sure he doesn't have a pneumothorax. He could even have a slight dropping of the lung. They're going to check his pulmonary function parameters, and they're going to monitor him for pain. So even when there are rib fractures, which he doesn't have, you really are limited by pain. So they're going to be watching him every day to see if he could execute throwing a football and whether his pain control is sufficient to continue playing.
It seems like every single week it's something with Darius Slay. I don't know what it was today, but I know he missed a little bit of time. Keely Ringo we saw out there. There was also some confusion with him, not saying that that's anything medical, but it always seems like it's something with Darius Slay. Is this just it's no longer just the knee bothering him, but it seems like it's a groin injury, whatever it might be. Is this just father time catching up with an athlete?
I would say so. These cumulative soft tissue injuries, he will take a break during the game, and typically almost every single game, literally every game, he will go off to the sidelines, doesn't look very serious, and after a few plays, he seems to come back and be Slay again. So I didn't see any specific injuries, but I think literally, Mark, every game he's gone off. I don't think there's an exception.
How about Josh Sweat? He seemed to miss a lot of time today. What's going on with him? He did come back, though.
He had an ankle injury, so my understanding is there was no fracture. So they taped him up really well, kind of like we do with those big O linemen. They taped him up, and he came back and actually made a play or two. So he looks like he is a full go.
Mm-hmm. One more thing I have from you, at least, Doctor. Look, we're not doctors here, obviously. That's why we talk to someone of great expertise such as yourself. When Jalen Hurts got up, Seth, me, and Gunnar all looked at each other and just said, he does not look right. And sure enough, moments later, they took him out of the game. Now, he did not play another snap, but we saw him walking back to the huddle. It looked like the official was trying to get some kind of verbal response from him, and all he literally got was a thumbs up. And that's when they ended up taking him out of the game. When you see a player take that kind of hit, you see the expression on their face. It did not look like, for lack of a medical term, the lights were on, unfortunately. When you see a player like that, does that get your wheels turning that something might be up?
That's true, and you'd expect if he went into the blue tent, they would have manifested some confusion. They would have asked him specific plays in the game and terminology. And as you know, terminology in football is very complicated. They would have checked him for ataxia, single leg, double leg, even tandem standing, and they would have looked at his eye movement. So I believe he got a very thorough exam in the blue tent, and he came out and he said, I'm good. So by criteria, he may have been able to go back in the game, but then once you go in the locker room, as you know, almost all the time, Seth and I noted Kyle Hamilton was the only exception I remember. He actually went back to the locker room and came back and played. That's an exceptional situation.
Yeah, most of the time, if you go to the locker room, your day is done.
The party's over. Turn off the lights.
9.5 times out of 10. Duck, any word on Jalen, on Jordan Davis? He went out for a short time. I don't know. It looked like it was a lower leg injury, but then he came back in. Probably a little soft tissue injury.
I concur. It looked like he had a soft tissue injury of the lower extremities. He actually required assistance of 2 people to help him walk off the field. Then he gathered himself and came back and was able to play. So I'm not aware of any persistent problem with Jordan Davis.
Fair enough. Dr. Bruce Grossinger, thank you so much for joining us as per usual. Hopefully, we'll be seeing Jalen Hurts back under center in a week.
I sure hope so.
Thank you very much. Now, I will say this. If Kenny Pickett can't go in this game, not that we're ever rooting for anyone to get injured, let's just say this. If you had to make a decision, knowing that Jalen Hurts might not be available next week, would you stay with Kenny Pickett or would you go to Tanner McKee?
Not just no, hell no.
Okay, all right. So hell no to Kenny Pickett. Hell yes to Tanner McKee.
Hey, listen, man. Tanner McKee is a pure passer of the ball. That's where we lacked the ability to move the football today. You know, Kenny Pickett, let me see what his numbers were. 14 for 24, 142 yards, 6 yards per average, okay? 1 touchdown, 1 interception, really bad interception, and a rating of 72. Now, a rating of 72, that's not the QBR, that's just the rating.
Mm-hmm.
You get that low, it's just not good. But that's not efficient enough. If everybody wants to talk about, you know, Jalen Hurts going 17 for 20-something for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns, you know, certainly that's not good enough to win. Because, you know, what the problem is, if you can throw the ball, then that's going to make the defense have to get out of some of that, you know, 8-man box to be able to slow Saquon down. The times where they get out of that look, that's when you run. But when you don't have that, when you can't offset one with the other, whether you're dominating against the run and you force them out of the single high safety, or you're dominating versus the pass and you make them go to 2 high safety, if you don't have the luxury of that, then you're offensively you're going to have problems. You know, the thing about Tanner McKee is that he's going to make the read, he's going to let the ball go, he's going to throw it on time, and he's going to throw it on rhythm. He may be the best rhythm and timing passer that the Eagles have on this roster. The problem is experience. He doesn't have the experience. So you devise a game plan for him. You know, you go through the certain looks and the certain situations where he can check in and out of plays, okay? You give him the practice throughout the week. I just think he's a better option. And the way that Kenny Pickett was holding his side at the end of that game leads me to believe that what's going on is going to be a lot more severe than what we think it's going to be. Because it did, in my opinion, it had an effect on how he threw the ball late in the game, D-Gun. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, it surely did. And if that's the case and Jalen can't go, Tanner McKee has got to be the guy that gets the start.
Can you imagine Tanner McKee facing the Cowboys? Now, the Cowboys are not a juggernaut, but still, the Eagles are trying to wrap up the division, and you're down to your third-string quarterback playing Dallas, even though you're playing them at home. That gives Dallas a little bit more momentum than they normally would, because if I'm Dallas and I'm thinking, after what happened to us in our home field against the Eagles early in the season with Jalen under center, if he's not there and Kenny Pickett's not there, we got a fighting chance against the Eagles with this Tanner McKee calling the shots.
I could understand how they feel about not having Jalen there, okay? They got to be salivating if they thinking, you know, that Kenny Pickett is playing.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be salivating no more if Tanner McKee is playing than if Kenny Pickett is playing.
Right.
Let's just hope. Let's just hope that Jalen, you know, can get out of concussion protocol and be ready in time enough to at least get a day or two of practice in this week.
All right, when you look at, I hate to go just to the route of the blame game, but this is an unfortunate loss. In any game, you're telling me that Jalen Hurts is all of a sudden missing and you don't have time to game plan with your other quarterback. And you're also telling me that you have one huge drop in this game, I'll say, maybe even 2 considering the Saquon Barkley drop down the field. That was also, yes, underthrown. If you're telling me all that, I'm not expecting to win that football game. So do you look defensively? Do you look to the coaching staff? Do you just look at the subpar play of Kenny Pickett? What do you look at as the number one culprit as to why they lost this game today?
I think it's too broad, you know, to pick just one area. Like I said before, I think the loss of Gardner-Johnson was huge because there were adjustments that had to be made. We saw in the second half when he was out of the game, there was a mass confusion on multiple plays. As far as there was a couple of coverage busts. So that's a big part of it. The other part of it, you know, the rush lane integrity of the defensive, you know, the front 4 wasn't where it needed to be. Too many times he got out and made plays. Then you look at the special team, man, there's enough blame to go around. Look at the special team. We couldn't kick the ball past the 10-yard line on kickoffs, which means, they started damn near on average at the 40-yard line on every single possession that they had. And the coverage team wasn't that good. There were times when he was running at the 20-yard line, and you didn't even see any Eagles coverage guys, kickoff coverage guys in the frame. Then you go over to the offensive side of the ball. Kenny Pickett is part of it because, he just hadn't had time and hadn't had the reps. But also, I just felt like at the other end of the spectrum that Kellen Moore could have did a better job of not running the ball so consistently on first down. Go play action passes. There were times where he would drop back on first down and throw the ball. Drop back is so different than play action pass because when you have a threat like Saquon Barkley and he sticks that ball out, the other thing is, why weren't they putting Kenny Pickett under center a little more? If you're going to run the ball where you got Saquon coming downhill instead of going across the formation, where he can hit downhill and either hit it up in there or bounce it outside right now. So like I said, there's enough to go around for everybody, and you can't just point at one. All of these things are a cumulative effect of why this team lost this football game. Now, it's not the end of the road. It's the end of the road as far as trying to get the number 1 seed. And if they don't get their act together, I don't know how it all works. They might not even get the damn 2 seed. But they better figure it out, and they better figure it out fast. And I get the sense that they will at some point. But you just can't account for not having your quarterback, and you can't account for not having your free safety in the game. Those are big losses, big misses for this football team.
I don't think we addressed enough the special teams play today as well, which had been stellar all season long. Luke McCaffrey had too many big returns and put Washington in good field position. That's not like the Eagles special teams, coverage teams, and they had a breakdown. So all 3 phases of the game today had breakdowns. I mean, obviously, you lose your frontline quarterback, the game plan changes significantly with a backup in terms of how you call the plays. But the defense had too many breakdowns, special teams had too many breakdowns, and the offense was stagnant the last 30 minutes of the ball game.
I agree with you. When we come back, we're going to take a look at a couple of more things in this game, including what Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had to say about why he was thrown out of today's football game. That's when we return on the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. The Parx Casino Beer Garden. Enjoy a fine stein and take in the game.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Pawn Lehocky, we're neither a pawn nor a hockey team. In fact, I don't even know how to skate.
Cut.
We're the injury law firm that you want fighting for you.
With our vast network of attorneys across the country, we know the playbook on injury law.
It's how Pond Lehocky recovered billions of dollars for more than 100,000 injured and disabled workers.
And we know we can do the same for you.
So give Pond Lehocky a call. No other law firm will fight harder for you.
And you'll never pay a dime until we win.
It's the most wonderful time with the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all 3 on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello?
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Stay at Home Home Care. So after Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was thrown out of the game in the early goings of the third quarter, the 11:31 mark of the third quarter, Eagles defense never looked the same after that, unfortunately. So Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, being that it was his second unsportsmanlike conduct penalty in the game, decided to tweet out responsibility, sort of, saying respectfully, I got kicked out for nothing. I play with passion and fire. Guys was chirping all day. What do you expect? He looked genuine. I will say this. I don't believe. I think people are looking at him, knowing that he talks, and knowing that they're going to be listening for something that could be reason to throw him out of the game. It was a second unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. You got to be on your best behavior, already knowing that you're down Jalen Hurts in the game. He did look genuinely shocked on the sideline when they informed him that he was getting thrown out of the game.
Okay, you know the rule, though, okay?
What, two unsportsmanlike, you're gone?
You're gone.
Yeah.
You know the rule. You got to be smart enough, and your coaches have to tell you on the sideline. That tells me the coaches on the sideline can't control the player, whoever it is, whether it's Nick, whether it's position coach, or whatever the case may be, because you know the rule. This is a big game. We win this game, we clinch the division, and in all probability, at the very least, we are the number 2 seed going into the playoffs, so we automatically get a home game. Okay, now you leave it open for speculation. I don't see Washington catching the Eagles in any way, shape, or form, especially with the Eagles playing the Giants the last game of the season to possibly push the Eagles for the division title. But you could have done yourself a big favor today and wrap this thing up. Phase 1 is to get the division. Phase 2 is to get that home field advantage. And you didn't, because you, being one of the key players on the back end of that defense, let your emotions get the best of you. Yes, chirping is constant throughout the course of a National Football League game. But the bottom line is you have to be smart enough to know when and where to pick your poison. And this dude doesn't care when or where. He just does what he does.
What do you make of it, Seth? Getting thrown out of this game, saying afterwards, I got thrown out for nothing.
That's like the kid getting sent home from school, getting suspended, and telling his parents he didn't do anything. Man, stop it. Stop it. Listen, I'm one of those players that I'm okay with chirping, because nobody talked more crap during the game than I did when I played, because it's a psychological thing. But when I watch him play, okay, just a simple tackle, he's got to get up and chirp like he did something special. You made a damn tackle, man. You made a tackle. Be happy that you made a tackle and go back to the huddle. That's what you get paid to do. You ain't do nothing special. You made a tackle, okay? And then understanding that there's like a cutoff, okay? You talk, and then you shut it down. And you focus on the next play. But he just keeps on talking. And then he's following the other guy that he's chirping to, all the way to damn near back to the huddle, you know? And there is some things that you can say that cross the line. The only way that a referee is going to throw a flag is because you've said something that's so far out of bounds. You know, like back in my day, the referee would never throw a flag or penalize you no matter how you spoke to him. They just swallowed it. This is the new NFL. It's not only the officials, but when he got hit in the face and the referee said, oh, no, he pointed at him, he said something that was so egregious and so out of bounds that the referee just forgot about the fact that the guy hit him in the face and gave him the 15-yarder when it really should have been offsetting if he said something. But it was so bad and it was so across the line that the ref wanted to shut it down. That was the warning, okay? That was the warning. You got one unsportsmanlike conduct, and you, like everybody else on the field, should know that a second one gets you kicked out of the game. So automatically right there, I'm shutting down whatever I'm saying, okay? If I'm jawing a little bit, it's I got you, and I'm going this way. But I'm not going to consistently stay in a guy's face and say something even more egregious than what I said to get the first unsportsmanlike, to put myself in a situation where I hurt the team and hurt myself by getting kicked out of the game. You can't do that. You can't do that. This coaching staff, this team has got to get him under control. To a certain extent, they got to get Jalen Carter under control. Now, there's a fine line because you don't want to take away their fire. They both play with a lot of passion and a lot of fire, and you don't want to take that away. But they got to understand, especially C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he got to realize there's a cutoff point where you got to shut your damn mouth before you hurt the team. And he hurt the team. That's 30 yards worth of penalties that he got just running his damn mouth. Not for knocking somebody's block off, for running his mouth.
And then costing the team his talent the rest of the game.
Absolutely. You know, another aspect of this game, Mark, and Seth, that really blows me away is where was the tight end in the offense? I mean, A.J. and Devontae combined for 14 catches for 158 yards. The only other person to catch a ball today was Kenny Gainwell, 1 catch for 6 yards.
Can you tell them how many targets between those two guys?
They had 23 targets between A.J. and Devontae. 23 targets, 14 catches.
On how many passes?
Out of 39, let's see, out of a total of 28 passes in this game, those two had 23 targets out of the 28 passes.
So he only looked the other guy's way 5 times.
Where was the tight end that's been so prominent making key catches in this 10-game winning streak? They didn't even get a target in this game today. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't get that. And that was even when Jalen was in there. Mm-hmm. The tight end got no love in this game today.
Can I throw you out a little something to chew on?
What?
Okay. So 2 weeks ago, we saw AJ get upset that he wasn't getting the ball.
Right.
Now, we can call it whatever we want to call it, passing, whatever you want to call it, but he wanted the ball. He got the ball last week.
Yes, he did.
A lot of targets last week, okay? The backup quarterback sitting back watching all of this, and he comes in the game. Who the hell you think he throwing the ball to?
AJ.
He's not going through his reads. He's not going through a progression. I got to get the ball to number 11.
I don't want him on my case.
He was pissed off the last week.
Yeah. I don't want him on my case.
This is a preemptive scare tactic you're talking about then. Before Kenny Pickett even gets to the game, it's in his head, I better go to A.J. Brown.
Well, I'm going to hear about it after the game.
You can't dismiss it.
Sure, okay.
You can't dismiss it in the smallest of ways.
No.
See, and this is the divisive nature, of having something like that come to the forefront, because it's the residual effect. Not only did Jalen Hurts come out last week and go to A.J. Brown and get him involved early to keep his number one wide receiver happy, I should say, but then you turn around and your number one quarterback goes out and your number two quarterback comes in the back of his mind, he's watched all of this nonsense for 2 weeks. Where do you think he's going to throw the ball?
That's right.
Now, you can't tell me that Devontae Smith wasn't open and wasn't worthy of some more targets. You can't tell me that Grant Calcaterra wasn't open, that Saquon checking out of the backfield in some situations wasn't open. He predetermined a lot of times where he was going with the ball. Oh, I got A.J. Brown matched up one-on-one against, Latimer, so I'm going to throw the ball over there instead of going through my progression. Come on, man.
Let me ask you this question real quick. Now, obviously, it doesn't look good for the Eagles to get the number one overall seed, right? Okay. We can still talk about Saquon Barkley potentially setting the all-time record. I don't think that's going to happen now because I think the Eagles would keep him out of the last game of the season if it doesn't affect the standings. But is there anything in this game other than Jalen Hurts and his health that scares you? Is there anything that happened in this game that if Jalen Hurts is healthy, I mean, if Jalen Hurts is healthy, I feel great. I still feel great about this team's odds of winning a Super Bowl. I don't like the idea of them eventually having to go to Detroit for the road to the Super Bowl to go through Detroit, but that is what's going to happen. But all in all, I still think this football team is a Super Bowl-worthy football team. Is there anything that this game showed you, other than Jalen Hurts' health, that worries you about their future?
No. Because I feel like, D-Gun said it earlier. If Jalen plays in this game, they score 40 points on this team, and it's not even close.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
Okay. He is the difference maker on this football team. He has to be on the field because of what he brings to the table. And I'm still standing by not only the defense, but the offensive side of the ball. I'm not worried about them having to go to Detroit and play the Detroit Lions, because the Detroit Lions are in a place right now where they're so beat up defensively that they have to score an enormous amount of points in order to win. Now, I don't know how many points they put up on the Bears today. The Bears are just a bad football team. But the Eagles ain't giving up that kind of yards, not giving up those types of big plays against Detroit. I don't care if they go to Timbuktu and play.
Yeah, Detroit had 34 points.
So I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about who they have to play. If Jalen Hurts is a major reason why this offense succeeds, whether they're running the ball successfully or whether they have a good day passing the football. He's a major reason why, because of his ability to not only escape the pocket and make plays when a pass play breaks down, but his ability to pull the ball on a running play and put the defensive end in conflict and be able to get the ball, get around the corner and get yards with his legs. Now, I'm not a big fan of the quarterback runs, the call quarterback runs, unless you're running quarterback lead where the running back is leading up in the hole and Jalen's tucking in behind them. I'm not in favor of some of the things that they do, but he is a major part of what they do. I'm not worried. If he's healthy, all things being equal across the board, the defense had a day today, okay? They had some guys out. They're missing some players. If everything is set up the way it's supposed to be and the key people are healthy, I'm not worried about this team. No matter who they play, who they have to play in the wild card round, who they got to play in the divisional round, or who they got to play or where they got to play in the NFC Championship, I think that this team is ready and can get the job done.
I will say this when it comes to playing Detroit. I'd rather have them play them in sub-30-degree weather here than to play them on that carpet in Detroit.
Absolutely.
Because even though Detroit's defense is decimated by injuries right now, Detroit's going to put up some points. Eagles are going to have to score. That's going to be a shootout-type game because I know the Eagles' offense can walk down the field on Detroit's defense. As good as this Eagles' defense is, they haven't seen an offense like Detroit's. And that home field in that dome makes a little bit of a difference for me. I'm not saying the Eagles can't win the game because I agree with Seth, and I've said it time and time. I don't care if they're playing in an airport runway, a back alley, a glass-filled parking lot. I think the Eagles can play with anybody anywhere in this league right now on any given day. But when you play in Detroit in their backyard, that's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a pinball-type game.
I tell you what, the difference in my opinion is going to be the Eagles' ability to control Detroit's run game. And I think that David Montgomery out of that lineup, out for the season, is a big, big deal.
It is.
The reason why they've got, what did they call themselves, Thunder and Lightning or something, with, I forget the cartoon. But the reason why they were so effective is because David Montgomery would just beat you down, beat you and bruise you. And then in the second half or in spurts, they would put Jahmyr Gibbs in and his speed, that change of pace speed. Well, now Jahmyr Gibbs has to be the main guy now. He's not that big. He's not a guy that they want to have, 15-plus carries in a game. He's just not. And if the Eagles can get that offense, their run game under control from a defensive perspective and throw all the onus on Jared Goff to have to throw the ball to win, the way that they can run different blitzes and the way that they can rush the passer at times with a healthy Josh Sweat, I think that they got a chance to affect Jared Goff in a lot of ways because to me, he is the most pressure-adverse quarterback in the National Football League. Now, they're going to have to get to him. But if you can get to him and make him move off his spot, take away his first read, he becomes a very deficient quarterback. But when he can sit there, when he can go play action pass and sit 7 to 8 yards in the pocket and let these routes develop downfield, or he can go play action pass and throw the ball on rhythm on time, and the fact of the matter is, if you ain't running the ball, play action doesn't mean anything. So if the Eagles can take that away, I'm not worried about Jared Goff in that passing game. I'm really not.
A couple of news and notes real quick. Yes, obviously the Lions took care of business today against the Bears. Vikings and Seahawks right now with about 10 minutes left in the third quarter are tied at 17. That's the way that one is right now.
By the way, Sonic and Knuckles.
Sonic and Knuckles.
I thought you were going to say Heckle and Jekyll.
I almost said Ren and Stimpy, so that's where my head was at. Right. I want to make sure I mention our winners again. Troy Wheeler, you guys, you have won, as well as Sir Mix. You guys have won a ball and a helmet. So there you guys go. Make sure you contact Seth Joyner at Seth Joyner Show, Seth Joyner on X, Seth Joyner on Instagram, everything that's Seth Joyner. Just make sure you reach out. Show up at his house maybe. Just say, hey, can I get my gift? Right?
Good luck with that. Hey, also give a shout out to the guy that won the Jalen Hurts jersey today.
We not heard from our guy?
Oh, I'm sure. I think he's already reached out on
Mike Hartstraff.
Yep.
Mike Hartstraff.
You guys got that one? You want to throw that up right quick?
We don't have it? Okay.
All good.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody making sure they chime in and following the show on all social media platforms for their chance to win. Hey, happy holidays to everybody, despite this Philadelphia Eagles loss today. Merry Christmas to you, gentlemen. Happy holidays
Likewise.
to everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, an absolute blast. Have a safe and healthy holiday. We'll be back with you guys.
Should have worn sweaters.
But
Is that why we lost?
Yep.
we put the bad juju out there.
Y'all wouldn't listen to me. That's the
Put the
problem.
bad juju
If you
out
start
there.
listening to me, we have better luck.
The bad juju was you talking about you was going to shave your mustache off at halftime.
It's the sweaters. It's the lack of sweaters, I'm telling you.
Never mess with a winning
The
streak.
Christmas Grinch got him.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful holiday. For Bailey Livesey, Dr. Bruce Grossegon, Mark Farzetta, for Seth Joyner and Derek Gunn, happy holidays, everybody.
Regroup and go Birds.